So we're recording, and I want to just begin our morning with a Gopin guided sensory meditation to begin with. So let yourself go back and to comfortable position and close your eyes and begin being aware. We want to go through the body from crown to ground. So start breathing in to the spaces, maybe even above your head, like about 12 inches above, and just feel the connection of the light that is coming down into your crown and filling your body with the divine forces of the light. And then begin bringing your awareness down to the scalp and noticing how your eyes are this morning, your forehead, your cheeks, your jaws, the back of your head and neck. And just breathe and keep following all the sensations that just kind of arise. You don't have to name them or understand them, but just noticing them. Subtle sensations of energy movements, inner weather patterns. Could be pressure or heaviness, places that have no movement or agitated movement. So just as we go down, notice whatever is there. And so staying with the throat for a minute, just bring your breath almost as if you're breathing through the skin at your throat. And with the breath, it's sort of like a caress, an invitation to relax, to let go, to ground, to make space for whatever is there. Just accepting and noticing and being with it. And then coming down into the shoulders and following the shoulders down to the upper arms and the elbows, the forearms, wrist, hands, fingers. And just feel the life force there. And then coming back to the back of the heart, notice like that you can breathe from behind the heart, from the back of the heart, into the heart center. And sort of let yourself rest back into that breath, that hand of breath at the back of the heart, as if it were supporting you, backing you up, laying a hand on your shoulders. And just be aware, whatever's there, as you move forward into the front of the heart, and feeling its connection to the high heart and the throat and the jaw, and all the way back up and all the way back down. And again, just seeing if you can allow whatever is there, welcoming it. Hi, I see you. I'm with you. And continuing down to the diaphragm, Just notice the tensions there. The diaphragm and the belly often carry layers and layers of tension. So just see if you can make a space that allows that tension to relax instead of contract, to expand out into more space in the body. And the breath invites the flow of the movement. And stay wherever you need to stay. If there's one place in you that you're also working with, it's fine to just be with that. Sometimes when we open the belly, we feel our heart again. Just breathe out like a little sound of the breath, you know. Maybe there's a sigh instead. And feel again the force of gravity kind of drawing you down. Letting yourself follow this movement into your belly, into your lower back, into your hips, pelvis. Feel your weight on the chair, on the ground, wherever you are, resting. The solidity of the physical, the earth mother supporting you. Let yourself let go as much as you can into that support. And feel the energy streaming down the legs. Notice if it's touching or if you're gripping anywhere. And just be with that. You know, hi, I see you. It's okay. You can let go. And see what happens if you do. Coming down into the lower legs and the ankles and the feet. And feeling sort of this more dense physical-ish energy from the earth. Notice that it's also being drawn up into the body, into the earth is rising in us. And the sky is descending down through our body where they meet in the heart, interpenetrating, in a sense, forming a star. Just letting yourself be there, noticing however you are in this moment, shining brightly, shining dimly, still sleeping from the morning time, carrying whatever you're carrying from your life, from the days. Just be a space to welcome it all, to receive your life, all your feelings, and just notice, can you embrace it? Can you accept it? Can you welcome yourself home here in this moment, present to yourself, and in that presence, being aware of the presence of the divine, a universal presence also with you. Oh, gradually bring yourself back. Here we are, and I want to, just bring our prayers for Brian and his travels and his journey on, and gratitude for all he's done in holding all of this program with us. And to begin, I would like to just share. I mean, we were just at Seven Oaks 2 weekends, well, weekend after this, before this one. And right before we were going there to say goodbye, which we thought was a closed experience of, being now purchased, the county did not grant the special use permit for the buyer that was attempting to buy the property. And so even though we were going to say goodbye, and we are still in a situation where we need to find a direction forward, and hopefully, we don't know. I mean, this is where it's brought us, like, as that situation shifted, we kind of like went into, okay, so let's pay attention to what the universe wants, and open again to not knowing, and the potential, the possibilities for us. And for me personally, it felt like, it was like a reprieve from a death sentence in a way. It was like, okay, so there's still possibilities here. So, and then in addition to that, we had our international Pathwork gathering, and I hope some of you were able to join in online or in person for that. Many great presentations and presenters, and there's so much alive in the Pathwork internationally now. So I'm feeling this movement, of reconnection, and hopefully we can, find a way forward, maybe with or without the center, but fully with a new blossoming, a new time for Pathwork to come into this time in life. It's really the time that the guide, began 50 years ago, more to, bring us to this place and help us navigate these times. And so I also just want to share briefly a movement that is happening in the Pathwork community, kind of brought forth by one of our Pathwork helpers in the West Coast, Charles Crescent Wood. He has a couple of books, and it's very involved and has many beautiful offerings in the Pathwork. And he is now sort of opening this up, seeking to see if there are, other people in our community that want to contribute, invest, So I just want to read a little bit of a letter that he sent out. I don't know if anybody here is in that position, but certainly our prayers, and our long alignment with these kinds of things can help. So he says that basically the title of it is Investors Group Seeking to Buy Seven Oaks Retreat Center. And he says, financial problems related to the pandemic, unfortunately, have led to the need for the Mid-Atlantic Pathwork to sell Seven Oaks Retreat Center in Madison, Virginia. For the last 50 years, the center has been a spiritual home for many Pathworkers worldwide and hosted many workshops, conferences, and lecture study classes and process groups. The land has been impressed with the energy of the Pathwork, and many of us can feel that divine energy when we are on the land. An investors group is being formed to buy the property and provide new management, new investment capital, and a new open energy system approach to supporting Pathwork-related work on the property, including the 50/50 work, Core Energetics, Barbara Brennan work, and Hoffman Quadrinity work. This group is seeking members of the Pathwork community who would be interested in being a part of this new investors group. And also, we are looking for help in many ways. So it's like, even if you don't have investment, if you have experience in this kind of thing, even if we don't keep Seven Oaks, we are trying to really go forward into the future in a new name. So, we are working hopefully to keep this available for us, and just hopefully everybody can enjoy, this land in times to come. I don't know if all of you have ever been there or not, but anyway, I would just like to invite our prayers and our support for that. Okay, so let's go ahead and do our opening go around. I am working with a kind of concept on this at this point, in this idea of self-acceptance, right? The Pathwork is kind of founded on self-responsibility, one that we all know a lot about, and self-knowledge, which is, this deep willingness to go looking inside and understanding ourselves very deeply. And then the third one is self-acceptance. And in some ways, I find that is the one that we have the most difficulty with. And also the other two are not able to fulfill themselves and be complete without that one. And that's probably true all the way around. But so I thought we would spend a little time today on this idea of self-acceptance. So in our check-in today, feel free to say your name and where you are, and anything else that seems to be important, but let's try to make it concise. And mostly what I'd like to hear is 2 sentences. I am unhappy with myself today, or, and generally, because, and then I am happy with myself today because. And you can also just tune in. What is your self-acceptance barometer in general?
I first of all need to ask, is Brian okay?
Yes, as far as I know. Dan, you can share. I think he's just traveling this weekend to visit.
Yes, he's just taking a break. He's taking a break.
Okay.
Any other questions about anything that was shared or anything like that before we? Okay, so do I need to read the questions again?
Yes.
So I am unhappy with myself today or in general because, and I am happy with myself. Just notice like where you go inside to find those 2 different places, or
I can go. So I'm Esther Mulroy, and I live in Swampscott, Massachusetts. And I'm unhappy with myself because I replay the old stories. And particularly this weekend, since 2019, I had been gathering family together and had a family reunion. So I had a lot of practice with the old stories, blaming or whatever. So that I'm unhappy about, that I still do that. And then I'm happy that I found, that I could go to my heart and welcome people into my heart from that place, actually, from my old story critical place. I could take a breath and say, okay, just put them here, not here, not wherever. So I don't know. You have to tell yourself to go to the heart. I don't know if you're in your heart then, but just breathe there. And that's what I'm happy about learning to do.
Beautiful.
Well, I can go. I'm Chris Walker and I'm in Charlottesville, Virginia. And thank you, Darlene, for that beautiful meditation. In terms of where it really helped to guide me into some deep sorrow I have been connecting to, and it really kind of came up. But it feels sweet to be connected to it and peaceful to be connected to it. So I'm happy that I'm connected to it. So I'm with, there's worry and there's some fears kind of in there. And once again, I feel settled with it at this moment. So I'm not unhappy with myself. I'm feeling some unhappiness, but I'm not unhappy with myself, if that makes sense. And I'm feel a sense of satisfaction that I'm connecting to this sorrow, these feelings that have to do with my sort of life story, let's put it that way. So I'm here, and again, thank you. This is just really what I needed. Thank you. And I'm excited to hear what you shared about Seven Oaks and the investors group.
Yeah.
My name is Kate. I am in Durham, North Carolina. I can't really resonate too well with the happy thing in this moment. I can resonate with deep sorrow, and I want to thank you, Darlene, for that absolutely beautiful meditation in the beginning. I can also resonate with feeling tired. I'm feeling like I've been in the twilight zone for at least a couple of weeks now. I've been doing a lot of processing. I kind of feel like I've got one foot in this world and one foot in another. And I think that I've been, I know that I've been self-medicating with chocolate, particularly because of that. Damn, it's good. And reminds me of that guy in the Matrix who said he didn't want to leave because he didn't want to give up steak. My steak is chocolate. So yeah, that's where I am. I don't think it's a really unhappy thing. It's just, it's what I'm doing. That's where I am.
Good. And you might just consider like that there is a kind of judgment that is in, like your sense of your chocolate addiction, or your, like you're not doing something that, you feel like maybe you would rather, or, you should be in some sense, right? I don't know if that's there, but
I think there is a part that feels that way, but I don't feel connected with that part at this point. I feel quite a bit of acceptance that this is just what I'm doing right now.
Excellent.
I can go. I'm. My name is Saida, and I'm in Copenhagen, Denmark. And I can relate a lot to what Kay has said. And I guess that I am experiencing a period in my life where well, it feels like I'm very unproductive. And that's what feels kind of sometimes it feels that I'm very unhappy with that. And it also feels as if I'm kind of lazy and not doing what I'm expected of myself to do and how it used to be for me. And I'm happy about that. I feel kind of calm, and sometimes I get these glimpses of acceptance of, well, this is what is happening right now. And I guess I'm experiencing kind of a transformation, like I'm in a transformation state, and it feels like it's a very gray, like gray and very uncertain zone for me. And it is very strongly expressed in me not being like not doing enough. This is what I experience a lot. Like I'm very, very relaxed, which is not a state that I'm used to. And it feels kind of uncomfortable. And sometimes I kind of begin to get a little bit judgmental about myself.
Beautiful. Thank you. Good example. Is there more, Saida, about where you might be happy with yourself, or is that enough? That's fine.
Well, happiness is that I kind of practice and train to be an acceptance of what is right now. Like this is a state that I'm experiencing, and it doesn't need to be like bad or good. This is just is, and me just noticing what is going on. Because I still get judgmental. So the good thing, like positive, and what I am happy about, that I actually notice what is going on.
Excellent. Yes. Thanks.
I can go. I'm Alan from New York. And I am unhappy because I still have issues with boundaries between what I believe I can do or am doing for myself and what I think I have to do for others. My idealized self-image wants to be perfect in the eyes of others and always make them happy. I am happy in the sense that I am decluttering my life and finding more space to do the things that are most important for me.
Thank you.
I'll go next. I'm Victoria. Pardon my voice. I'm having an allergy attack this morning. I'm in North Potomac, Maryland. And thank you for the lovely meditation. When I went inside, what I noticed was an irritation with myself for not getting enough things accomplished on my ever-growing to-do list. And what I'm happy with myself about is that I took time out to be here and doing this today.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Bennett. I'm actually relatively new to the Pathwork. Was able to join in today. So I think one of the things I'm unhappy with, I've been frustrated with the connections that have not been working out for me that I was hoping that would work out. It's just been really frustrating. And there's been judgment on my part. Wonder if there's something up with me that I'm doing that I don't know. That's just been frustrating. What I'm really happy about is that definitely continue on the path, you know, meeting and going out and connecting with others, might be like-minded, and just, you know, just continue moving forward. So I'm proud of myself in that regard. That's it.
Thank you.
I'm Sheila. I'm in Northern Virginia. And when you said that something like blessings on Brian and his journey on, I honestly thought you were saying that he had died.
Mm.
And I was not able to be present for the meditation at all. I should have probably gotten that question in earlier. And so it kind of enabled me to go through a little experience of what it will be like for me when I do get that news. And realizing that there's some things that I want to say to him that I've never said. And so I guess if I say what I'm unhappy about, it's the fact that I haven't said those things. Oh. And what I'm happy about is that I now have time to say them.
Good reminder for us all, I think, Sheila. I think in some ways the value of all of us, of each of us, of our lives, you know, is only really truly understood in context of the ending in some way. And also, I think around the self-acceptance, there is this way that if we, whatever we die with that we're not accepting in ourselves, right? I think that that's an important, you know, meditation in a way. Like, you know, like if you were to die today, you know, like where would you be unhappy with your life yourself, you know, because these inner accusers, right, can take us down energetically, spiritually. And so I think all of that is also, you know, something that fits into our theme today. So, did anybody else need to check in that I haven't heard from?
Yeah, I haven't gone yet. I'd like to share. I'm Dan Ayat. I am in Richmond, Virginia. I very much appreciate the meditation. I think that getting into that sensate experience of the body is key for me, because that's where I realize, wow, you've got a lot of inner accusers. I like that expression. That's a very clear way of saying what I experience. And you know, I'm always battling them, you know, this inter-ego fight. But your words that you just spoken about, you know, in context, putting it in full context, is now I'm in this moment just wondering, what suffering and pain these accusers have experienced that would make them so powerful in my life, and that with such a sense of urgency. And I'm feeling a little opening to those aspects of myself, and seeing a little more clearly as to why I'm so driven. And that is definitely something to like, because it's a relief, among other things, but it's also there's a certain clarity in there that allows me to open to these aspects of myself that are so hell-bent and urgent and demanding. So thanks.
And
Hi, my name is Sandy, and I'm in Minneapolis, and I'll try to be brief. Actually, everything that everyone has said has had some resonance, and last night I I got this gift of a realization that how to say it, just kind of an opening that I have a lot of rooms in me. And the reason that I was able to accept that, to take that thought in or that sense in, was because I was looking at the good rooms. And this morning, the other rooms are making themselves known. And it was difficult for me to settle down and into myself for the meditation, but I'm getting there maybe. And it's taken me is taking me a lot of years to accept my ambitions. And anyway, I'm really glad to be here. I had a hard time choosing whether I was going to attend or not, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the whole situation. Thank you, Darlene. Thank you, everyone.
welcome, Sandy. Thank you. I think that's us. So let me go ahead and do a little more of an introduction around this theme, and then we'll go into some more work together. So I think we all kind of know the story, but I want to suggest that it's way subtler and way deeper than sometimes we understand. And what Dan was saying about also opening to, sort of exploring and understanding the intensity of, the self-critic, is also a part of this. So at some point in our child development, when we're still quite young, we really felt like we needed to control ourselves to avoid painful repercussions. And so we created a self to control our natural self. But self-control really best evolves naturally with awareness and free choice, right? There's a developmental process of establishing it. And so, yes, children need to learn, more control in some sense, but it's not a kind of outer control, which is what we end up adopting. And it doesn't give time for this inner developmental process to get established within us based on a simple, awareness and inner choice, right? We think we have to make ourselves do what we choose. And this is something that I'm learning, both in Pathwork and other ways, that there's a way that really, the guide says that our free will is our key, is our most important attribute, is the difference between God and the adversary. God grants free will. The fallen angel that rules the earth does not. So in some way, we can begin to look at this from this perspective of free will as far as the movement, because we get so frustrated because we want to control ourselves and we don't usually do that. Or some people are maybe really good at that, but they're also very, confined and probably not, there's no spontaneity, there's no love, which is a spontaneous soul movement, right? All of that. But basically, it was just too painful to allow this natural development. And so we started to superimpose an idea of how we should be. And then, this part that we actually created tries to control the real self. And it does it through, heaping guilt or punishment or judgment, whenever it measures us differently than how it thinks we should be. So we learn to do this with ourselves and by extension then to others, right? So this is a whole kind of process of interaction, of relationship that we have learned. And it is about relationship, our relationship to ourselves and our relationship to our brothers and sisters. And so in working with this, I think it's a very profound area to explore. And so when the kind of activity is perceived as normal and we just do it all the time. So the guide is suggesting to become aware of this, like we really have to bring it into consciousness and to recognize, because in some way, I think what's happened is like that inner voice becomes our inner authority, right? The voice of the idealized self-image, of the projected, idea of how we should be. In a sense, it becomes the voice of God inside of us. Now, what I just said is that it's absolutely not the voice of God. It's the opposite of the voice of God. But we've gotten confused and we hear it as this voice of God. So like Dan said, who is this really? And why is this voice, so activated, so, demanding, so insistent? So there's a beautiful study in all of that, because I think in some ways, that voice of control is the voice, is the fear, right? And therefore, again, it's kind of what the guide calls the pseudo solution. It's an attempt to protect, but it never works. And again, the key difference between God and the instigator of the fall, between the higher self and the idealized self-image, is this grace of being who we are, of, like sitting in where we are and making a choice. And sometimes that choice is, controlled by factors that, we don't understand, and yet our presence and our awareness can always be exploring and examining it. And again, accepting all that arises, everything that shows up here, and so the higher self does accept us as we are, and the idealized self-image cannot. So that's one really clear distinction, it seems to me, between the inner authority and the voice of the higher self, and then this other controlling authority that we have adopted and kind of made it into our prison guard. So the real tragedy is that our inner child unconsciously mistakes the idealized self-image for the voice of God, this ultimate authority. And it, sort of unconsciously obeys it, and feels the effects of it, and tries to satisfy it, and is basically the part of us that is still, deeply lost in suffering and kind of difficulties here. So again, one of the most important practices in the pathwork is that of self-acceptance, which is learning to recognize this judger within us, first of all, because it's sometimes very, very subtle, and we don't even recognize that it's active inside of us. And we know it, in our mind sometimes. And so again, we we're looking for it in a certain way. So that's why I also like to go in through the body, because almost every place in our body where we are holding, not in a holding, embrace of acceptance, but like I'm holding up, I'm holding back, I'm holding in, I'm holding out, I'm holding together. I'm trying to do all of this kind of control, tension, and trying to make myself be a certain way. And whenever we're doing that, we're like contracting in our body, and the state of contraction causes the suffering in the body and the restriction in the flow of the life force and the moment now. So again, we can see that and judge it and try to make it go away, or we can notice that when it's there and just be with it again, allowing, accepting, presencing it with this, loving place inside of ourselves. It's like we're probably better at loving and accepting others than we are of our own selves in many instances. So it's kind of where we want to really understand the value of self-love, which is also, I think, the prerequisite for us to feel divine love, to feel the truth of how God sees us. So if you want, let's go ahead and explore, maybe do some breakout groups to just share something about, this part. Now we've done some of that, so maybe let me back up and think a little bit here. I think let's also do this exploration of connecting with the voice of the divine and see if we can see ourselves from that perspective. So again, see if you can find a place of judgment. And again, if you're aware that you are in this state of development, and I think it really is a state of development where we are, aware of our judgment, and we're, being present and accepting that without judging the judger, right? Because that can just add, complexity, and it's like a split that keeps fragmenting in more and more places. And the whole pathwork is about reintegrating, reunifying. So you might go back in your body and just notice if there's in a scan, any place, and this is where the body's the unconscious. So it helps sometimes to go in and see something we might not have been aware of. So in this moment now, are you all completely open, wide, and flowing? Are you totally present in your heart? And if not, where are you not? And I bet that somewhere in that is self-judgment. So beginning with, that, let's go ahead and share maybe in some breakout groups a little more and see if you guys can help each other, take some of these words and kind of go deeper, dig a little more, to see where that, part of you, is still alive, because it's always with us. And then we will do a little more work to also, switch and listen to how it feels to be the recipient of that judgment. And then there's another position that you can take to feel what's behind. There was a question Dan was asking, what's inside of that judgment. So I'm going to maybe put up on the chat these questions, and Dan, if you can maybe bring us into the breakouts, does that work that way, where if I do the chat, I can help cue people to the steps in this, and then you guys take it wherever you want. I mean, hopefully it's just a good exploration for everybody to go a little deeper with this.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't think when you put something in chat, once folks get into the
Oh, it doesn't work that way. Okay.
So I'm not really sure how to get around that other than for folks to just kind of get it clear in their head.
Okay. All right.
So we've got 3 people per breakout room. You want to do 7 minutes or 5 minutes per person as we do the share?
Okay.
Okay. So that will bring us, let's just say 7 minutes. That'll bring us back. Let's see, where's my math? 7 times 3 is 20, about 20 minutes. And that is quarter after. So we'll be back quarter after.
They're in, I mean, again, you know, it's like it's like, let's not get rigid about doing this exercise somehow precisely, but is there enough there for you all to feel, you know, how to proceed? Or do I need to try to provide some better instruction? Basically, what we want to do is explore, you know, like where is even hidden, subtle kind of parts of you that are wanting to control and not happy, you know, with how you are showing up in the world somehow. And everybody named, you know, something, I think, in the, so you can continue to work with that if you want. And then it's kind of like, go in and share a little more about who is that and what do they say to you, you know, and share with your partner, you know, how that voice sounds in your head, you know, and that kind of thing. And then, you know, if you have time, you can, you know, switch and feel how, so you're talking to yourself and you're beating on yourself, you know, so there's identification with this voice of control. Switch and see how it feels to be the other part of you that is receiving the criticism. And then a third possibility is to then look at being, what is underneath the controlling voice? Why is it so intense and so insistent and demanding? Okay, give it a try. Who knows what'll show up, but I'm sure it'll be something great.
Okay. And I'll send a little broadcast message to tell you when to switch, so you can just kind of, you don't have to worry about keeping track of time. All right, here we go.
Okay, welcome everybody. So, I mean, it's time if anybody would like to share if there was something useful that came out of your group. And so the floor is open.
Well, I can share. It was extremely helpful to me this morning. Thank you. And I really enjoyed our group. But anyway, I found that I was talking, I was able to answer my question and it felt really good. The answer was getting in touch with my no to spirit, to God, like, and that, you know, I'm not going to, and that actually I could feel my vitality there. So, and some pleasure there. So that was really nice to connect to.
It sounds like also accepting that that's not all of you. It is there, and you know, like, welcome to the to the here now of Chris Walker.
Right. And actually the pleasure of that is actually then connecting to another part of me. It's the pleasure, and that could lead somewhere, you know, just accepting that is like, oh, I'm connected to my vitality. And then it's like the no is like an ocean wave that kind of goes, yeah.
Beautiful. No one else have anything to bring to from the breakout group? It's fine if not, but there's. I find I'm almost like investigating this as I go. And so even now I'm feeling like, there's a secret key to this part somehow of the recognition, the self-acceptance, even maybe what you would say is the forgiveness. Right? Like there's a way that nothing can transform, I don't think, until it's forgiven. And so, this there's the self-acceptance, but I think in some way, that may also include something about self-forgiveness. And what I do feel in myself is that sort of the minute that I accept/forgive whatever it is that I'm holding against myself, that, it feels scary because now I have to, have that too or something, I can't get rid of it like I would like to. So it's being with it. And that sometimes feels, like it's a risk somehow, if I don't fight against this, it'll take over me or something. So, but I also feel like knowing its, intention even, or, like how it's pained me, problematic, whether it's my imperfect child or it's my demanding ISI, which is also a slightly older child that's just trying to control the younger child, right? That all of that can just be whatever we're holding against ourselves. If we can forgive it, then it feels like, oh, okay, then I can change. But if we say, no, you're wrong, like then it has to rebel and say, I'll never change, right? And I think that's a part of the, this understanding of the integration and embracing and unification work that we're doing. And it's so easy for the mind and the ego to think that it has to be done by separating, by ruling out, by, rejecting, instead of by embracing and incorporating and allowing and forgiving and trusting that if it's here, it's also part of the movement to there, right? And yet if we go into the resistance of it being there, that blocks the movement into that next possible place. So I thought just for a second, let's do another little breakout, or not a breakout, but a guided meditation here. And imagine that, like, part of this is like, how do we see ourselves as God sees us? Because in some way that, the critic, the ISI, the judge, the Luciferic consciousness that wants to control us, is needing also to be received and held in the whole, as well as all of the parts that it judges and criticizes. So take a minute and see if you can imagine viewing yourself through the eyes of the heart, through the eyes of God. Recognize the Father, Mother, Creator that made you as you are. And they've given you this place and time on earth as this gift of love so you can explore and learn and understand and find the truth naturally, discover it and adopt it because it's the truth, not because you should. Discover it and And maybe it's hard to adopt right away, but it just takes practice, remembering again, even after you've forgotten, with no judgment. And the part of this truth is that you are love and you are loved. And if we could feel the love of God for us, and I use God as a very, vast concept, but if we can feel the love of spirit, the love of this, totality, and know that we're actually held, seen, known, supported, that we really do have a divine mother and father, even though our human mothers and fathers were not perfect. And we can lean back into them. We can not be ashamed when they are knowing us each moment. And just notice if you can see through these eyes of love and understand how beloved you are. And if not, that's fine. Just notice, maybe wonder why, like what blocks me from knowing this love. And even then, can we understand and forgive? Often the guide ends a lecture with an invitation to be God or to be your God. And Alan Saley reminded me of a beautiful quote from the Pathwork Guide that reminds us of our value and of our worth. Alan, would you mind repeating that?
Sure. I am a divine child of God. I serve the best cause in life. I deserve the best from life.
And so our alignment, our longing, our love can flow, to ourselves, from our God, because we are a divine child of God. We have feet of clay, but we are becoming gods. And this is a beautiful process of creation in the universe that can happen only through these trial and errors, these challenges, and these transformational processes that we are going through. And to receive this grace, we can open to it, to feel the love that wants to unite with us and come through us, to ourselves and to all of life. We have about 5 minutes, I guess, before our closing. Is that right, Dan? So any final thoughts? I guess we will have our, hangout time afterwards as well. If people want to stay for a few minutes afterwards, the water cooler, as Brian says.
Yeah, coffee and donuts.
Coffee and donuts, that's right.
Darlene, I have a question. That's what you have said about forgiveness, because I was also I'm always thinking about the the meaning and the concept of what forgiveness is really. Well, for me, it's like, what does it mean to really forgive? And Am I
Okay.
doing it? Am I doing it for myself, or am I doing it for another person, for example? And what is the motive of me forgiving? Like, is it me letting it go in a way and accept? Or is it, well, it can also be, well, I want to forgive just to feel good.
Exactly. Like kind of to dismiss, or
Yeah.
rationalize, or kind of just get out of, yeah. Yeah. I think we can, misuse that in a way, like justifying or just rationalizing. But I think when we truly forgive, like it's part of also recognizing the fault, right? The lower self, the place where we have been in violation maybe of spiritual law, right? And our inner conscience has, like caused us to feel that inner conflict in some way, and is sort of, again, there's kind of the ISI, inner accuser, that is always, just wanting perfectionism and control. But there is a true inner conscience that recognizes when, we might have violated spiritual law in some way. And so, I know whenever I go into my, defense and wake up afterwards, that there's a feeling of, oh, I did it again, and recognition, but I couldn't recognize it in the moment because I was kind of possessed by that energy, that defense. So then how do I, what does it take for me to clear the slate and start all over again in a divine, in a place where I am not holding against myself. I am not, I don't know how to describe it, but, sort of weakening myself, like I can return to innocence and acceptance, of that I did it. For me, the thing is, like the ISI says, we can't forgive because, it won't change. And my belief is that, well, it will only change if it's forgiven. So you might explore that in your own work a little bit, right? Like, if you have some lower self piece of you that seems to act out in various ways, how do you feel about it? And what allows that to come out of its negativity and back into life?
Yeah. Thank you. It's all about inner work, like this, and us knowing it, like knowing we know it's someplace that we've been, for example, violating the spiritual law.
I think we do, Is that a question, or I'm
No,
not?
it's just like I am just saying and repeating how I have perceived what you have
Yes.
said.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it is a study for sure between the ISI and the true inner conscience.
Yeah, I think so. Thank you.
So again, I guess our time is up, but thank you very much for coming. I hope it was of some use. I feel like I'm still sort of worrying this to death, or not really worrying, but it feels like it's so important for us to have this connection with ourselves that is, really a good, that we're befriending ourselves, that we are our best friends and not our best critics. So leaving you with that, may you be your best friend going forward.
Thanks, Darlene.
Thank
Very
you.
good. Much appreciated.
Thanks,
Yes, thank
Darlene.
you.
Thanks, everybody.
Very much.
Bye
Thank you.
bye.